Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Belgium and we're going to have a look at another brewery who I've never tried anything from before. There's so many breweries down there that when you come across a different one, it's not really a surprise, but you're always just curious to see what some of these breweries are like. So for this one we are going to go to Vlaanderen, or Flanders, the Dutch speaking region of Belgium, to a little place called Brakel, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Brouwerij De Graal, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dutch pronunciation is a little bit difficult, of course. But for this review, we're going to have a look at the Graal Tripel, and that comes in at 9% ABV. So really looking forward to trying this one. As I say, another brewery that I've never encountered before, and hopefully it's a good beer. When I encounter a new brewery that I've never had anything from, really I just pick a style of beer that I enjoy from Belgium. And for me, with the Belgian beers, it's all about the tripels, the quadruples, and I do like a Belgian blonde, and sometimes a saison as well. But looking forward to this, and as I say, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Brouwerij De Graal. The very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Belgian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brouwerij De Graal then, so on to my brewery notes. So Brouwerij De Graal, as I mentioned to you earlier, are based in Brakel in Flanders. You'll find this place a little bit to the west of Brussels, and also pretty much directly south from Ghent as well. And this area of Belgium is apparently known as the Flemish Ardennes. So the brewery was founded back in 2002 by Wim Seyens, and Wim originally studied chemistry at KU Leuven, which is a very famous university in Belgium, a very good university and highly regarded throughout Europe in fact. But then he continued on to study a PhD in pharmaceutical science, but later he encountered Professor Dennis de Kuykelaar, who introduced him to brewing, and then he studied for his brewing certificates at CTL, having homebrewed with his father for a number of years previously. But the original brewery that they had was on the Vaarderaan Street, and they grew this to the point where they could produce 4,000 litres of beer per day, and then they moved to a new brewery in the industrial area of the town, which is where they're still housed today. I believe that was back in around 2016 if I remember correctly. But in addition to the beer, they also produce a beer distillate which is called a beer brand, and they also offer personalised brews as well that can be homebrew recipes or modified versions of the De Graal beers, and this is usually bars and things like that and restaurants that have custom beers. They sell them in 1,000 litre batches. But as of September 2019, they've got 6 regular beers, and they've produced a total of 168 different unique beers according to Untappd. So quite impressive actually for a Belgian brewery to produce that number of beers from having started at the date that these guys have back in 2002. That's pretty impressive actually. Most Belgian breweries they stick to sort of a couple of recipes and just perfect them and tweak them and things like that. To have a brewery that's from 2002 and produced over 150 types of beers is kind of unusual in Belgium, I think. The only other brewery I can think of that would do something similar would be for example, the Brussels Beer Project and things like that, or is it Brasserie de Seine they're called? You know, there's a couple of breweries that will do it, but for a brewery at this age, it's quite unusual in my experience. Do let me know if I'm wrong in saying that in the comments section below. There will be Belgians watching this video that will know a little bit better about that than me. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Brouwerij De Graal just now, other than the fact that the name translates into basically meaning the Grail Brewery, which I think is a reference to the Holy Grail. But another really interesting brewery. It's always cool to encounter little Belgian breweries like this, and yeah, let's get on to the tasting. If you want to learn more, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. That will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages if you're interested in all the different beers that they do. But yeah, let's get on and have a taste of this one then. So as you can see, Really nicely presented beer, this one. You can see the glass there, and again I think this is maybe a reference to the Holy Grail. Either that, or it translates slightly differently into Flemish Dutch than it would into Netherlands Dutch, if that makes sense. Again, let me know about that in the comment section below, but you can see the symbol there is a really nice goblet. And from what I understand, the other De Graal beers are they're basically the same design in terms of the label, but just a different colour depending on what beer it is. There you can see the bottle cap on this one. It says this one was bottled in August of 2018. So yeah, kind of cool. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting. And it just says on the back here, blonde, top fermented Belgian beer, bottle conditioned, 9% ABV, 33 centilitres. So let's get it out and get on with the tasting. We always just need to be careful with these Belgian beers though, because some of them can get very, very excited when you open them, but this one is going to behave itself. So let's get it out and into the glass. You always just have to pour these carefully, because when you've got bottle fermentation, the carbonation on these beers can just go that little bit crazy. Okay, we'll leave it at that for the moment and we'll put the rest in a little bit, because obviously if you pour a lot of it in, the head will go kind of crazy. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, and as you would expect from a Tripel, it's poured a lovely kind of bright sort of golden colour. This one's actually one of the darker coloured Tripels that I've come across, but even then it still is quite bright. This one is quite this one is leaning a little bit more towards the darker side of that usual kind of blonde yellow that you would get out of a Belgian Tripel. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. The head incidentally is one finger, and I would describe this one as being more of a kind of cream or ivory coloured head rather than being perfect white. Definitely a slightly off-white cream sort of ivory colour, this one. But in terms of appearance, there's nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider that it's a Belgian Tripel. You know, the colour's right, the head's right, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh, that smells pretty good. Yeah, that smells really nice actually. So straight away with this Tripel, you're going to notice that actually this one to me smells really bready and really doughy compared to some of the other ones that I've come across. It's got a lovely just blend of aroma to it, this, and that's the thing that really sticks out to me. The aroma in this one is really nice. But like I say, you've got that lovely white bready, doughy, yeasty quality there, just kind of forming the linchpin of the beer. There is a little bit of a kind of biscuity quality to this one, you know, that McVitie's digestive biscuit that I always talk about, but at the same time you're definitely getting a little bit of a slightly kind of caramelly quality to this one. It almost reminds me a little bit actually of Scottish tablet. So for those of you watching abroad, Scottish tablet, it's like fudge almost, but it's a lot more crumbly and a lot more sugary, to be honest. You know, it's eating tablet is a little bit like just asking, you know, just willingly contracting diabetes, to be honest. It's lovely stuff, but you don't want to eat too much of that. But the aroma in this one really reminds me of Scottish tablet. It's got a lovely brown sugary quality to it, this one, and quite often with the Tripel brews they will add a little bit of Belgian candy sugar to it, and that's what gives you these lovely notes. But definitely a bit of biscuit in there as well. There's a little bit of a, yeah, there is a little bit of that kind of, how would you say, a sort of fudgy quality to it, like a sort of toasty fudge. It's really nice actually how all those flavours go together. Maybe a little teeny bit of banana or something like that, but that's quite minimal. But a lovely big white wheaty bready quality, doughy yeasty notes on top of that, a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity quality, and you've got that lovely kind of candied sugar, that sort of fudgy quality in there as well. But overall it's really quite nice how the malty and the yeasty side of this aroma go together. In terms of the hops, I would say there's a little touch of, there is a little teeny touch of earthiness in there. I do suspect, going by the aroma here, they're using Belgian hops in this one, because it does have that It does have a slightly stronger earthiness than, say, for example, German hops, but it's got a nice kind of floral aromaticity to it. There's a little touch of herbal quality in there, and I've always found that the Belgian hops, it's that slightly herbal note and the kind of earthiness that gives them away compared to German or English hops. And you've got a nice little bit of a floral, grassy note in there as well. And on the fruity side of things, you know, definitely, as I say, there's a little touch of banana to this one because the base is a little bit more doughy and yeasty. But you've got some nice, not peaches, you've got a little bit of a kind of apricot-y quality in there, and also a little bit of that kind of typical peary and apple-y ester. But yeah, apricots, pears, apples, and a little bit of a kind of banana-y quality in there as well. Almost a little bit like sultanas too, in terms of the aroma. So actually quite a complex aroma to this beer, so take a little bit of time and just enjoy that before you get stuck into the beer. But we're going to have a taste of this one now and just see how we get on. So this one is the De Graal Tripel, coming in at 9% ABV from Brouwerij De Graal in Brakel in the Flemish Ardennes in Belgium. So yeah, let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, Prost, santé. Yeah, that's really pretty nice actually. Again, it's a little bit different from what you're going to... This one is a little bit different from what you're going to expect from the likes of, say, Westmalle or St Bernardus or something like that. To me, this one feels a little bit more doughy and bready, to be honest. It really leans towards that end of the Belgian tripels. Definitely a more doughy, bready, yeasty kind of tripel, this one, compared to some of the others. But I think that's nice. Yeah. I actually thought it would lean a little bit more towards the kind of brown sugary notes going from the aroma, but really a lot more kind of bready and yeasty and things like that. So yeah, you can see it's got a little bit more hazy since I put the other part of the or the remainder of what was in the bottle there. But this is really nice. It gets a thumbs up from me. So let's break down the flavour a little bit more then. So yeah, straight away with this beer, you're going to feel that nice sort of white bready, wheaty quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, you'll start to get the more doughy, yeasty qualities, and the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer actually, those do kind of fade away a little bit and it starts to lean again towards the kind of wheaty, white bready base. It's really interesting how it makes that transition. And in the middle of the palate, that's where you get the nice sweeter elements coming out of this beer. You've got a good little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness to this one. You can definitely feel some of these kind of candied sugars that I was talking about. I'm pretty sure they will have added a little bit of that to this beer just going from the flavours. But you can feel a little bit of the booze in the middle of the palate too. You can really feel... it's almost like a butterscotchy flavour that's in the very, very centre of your palate there. But as you move out from the centre of the tongue, it does get a little bit more kind of biscuity, and that's what really reminds me of the McVitie's digestive biscuits that I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you can actually get those in Belgium right enough, but it really does get a little bit more kind of biscuity or cookie-like the further out you go from the centre of the palate. But this is really nice how the flavours in this beer just go together. Hope I've not got the hiccups, but this can happen to you sometimes with Belgian beer, and just because it's bottle fermented, they are a little bit more kind of carbonated and things like that. But this one's definitely not over carbonated. They've got the balance here really quite nicely, to be honest. But yeah, the malt base, as I say, it gets thicker the further you go into the flavour with this beer as well. As I say, it's when you take it in, it blankets the middle of your tongue. It feels kind of fairly light, but then it starts to thicken up, and then it just kind of fades away a little bit again. It's really interesting how this beer makes that transition. I would say there's maybe even a little touch of a slightly, if you go to the front corners of your palate and move in a little bit, there is a little touch of a woody flavour coming out of this one too, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I really like this beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink that again, but at 9% it is more of a treat, this beer, rather than being a kind of session one. But in fairness, when you go to Belgium, they wouldn't hesitate to sit down and have a good couple of these in an evening, let's just say that. But on the hoppy side of things with this beer then, back corners of the palate, I think there's a little touch of earthiness there. As you kind of come further forward along the sides of the palate, it kind of fades away a little bit. You do get an almost little touch of a herbal quality and a little bit of floralness on the front corners of the tongue, but round the front curve of the palate it definitely feels a little bit lighter and grassy. But the hoppy notes in this beer are that light, it does make you almost wonder whether they're there. And I do know that with some tripels, they don't add hops to them. Some of them they just don't bother. But I like how the flavours in this one kind of come out. I do think there's a little bit of hop in here, and it just gives the beer a little bit of freshness to kind of, or a little bit of freshness, almost a little bit of spiciness as well, just to balance out the kind of sweetness and smoothness that you've got in the centre of the palate too. And of course you've also got the fruity side of this beer as well. So as I always say, the fruity side, the fruity esters, they'll come out in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue. And for me, this one, there is a little bit of an almost banana flavour. When you're moving forward on your palate from the centre of your palate, you'll pick out a little bit of banana there, kind of mixing in with the sort of doughy, yeasty qualities that this beer has. But then in front of that, you've got a little bit of a kind of apricot-y quality. You've got some kind of peary and apple notes almost right on the front kind of tip of the tongue as well. So I mean, the fruity side of this beer is quite nice and blended in. There's almost a little bit of a kind of sultana quality there. I mean, one thing I would say about this beer is that it doesn't differ all that much from the aroma you get from it. If you think about what you're getting in the aroma, this beer does actually turn out quite similar. It's got that thicker breadiness that you want. The brown sugars come across a little bit differently, in fairness. You've got a little bit of those kind of hoppy qualities as well, and you've got similar fruits in the flavour to what you would expect in the aroma as well. It's got a really nice kind of little bit of banana, little bit of a kind of sultana quality, and some apricots, and a little bit of an appley peary quality. The apple and pear is kind of coming out right on the very kind of tip of the tongue almost. So yeah, in terms of flavour, a really nice tripel, this one. Definitely leaning towards the more kind of bready, doughy end of the spectrum. In terms of the mouthfeel then, on to our last part with the beer, I would say, yeah, this is a fairly, it's at the bottom end of full-bodied, this beer, maybe the top end of mid-bodied. The carbonation does have a little bit of crispness to it, and again, that's this kind of typical feature of Belgian beers, because they are, well, they do tend to be bottle fermented. They do tend to have that bit of carbonation there because of the fermentation going on in the bottle. And that also contributes to giving them a slightly different flavour depending on how much you age them. But yeah, mid-bodied beer, kind of crisp carbonation. This, I would say the mouthfeel, it leans towards the oily side of things, but at the same time it does have a good little bit of smoothness to it because of how prominent the sort of bready, doughy qualities of this beer are. The malt base and things like that, the middle of your palate is really kind of smooth, but in the centre of your palate you've got a little bit of sweetness. So between the malts and the yeasty side of things, you've got a good balance between smoothness and sweetness in this beer. A little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think you'd be lucky to get about 15 IBUs out of this beer, to be honest. I'd be very surprised if it's more than that, but there is a little touch of a hoppy presence in there in my opinion, and you've got some nice kind of juicy fruity qualities to the beer as well. So yeah, it's got everything you would want from a tripel. As I said, compared to others, this one is a little bit more kind of bready and doughy, but overall it's a really quite nice beer, this one. And it's nice to see another little brewery having a go at some of these these sort of Trappist styles, if you like. There's a whole variety of things you can find in Belgium. Some breweries are trying IPAs and stuff like this now. Some of them are making more modern takes on the old kind of Trappist beers. But these guys have got a wide variety of different things, so it's a brewery that you definitely want to check out if you get the chance. They've done a nice job of this Tripel, and hopefully I can review a few more of their beers at some point in the future. It would be cool to try a few different things from them. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A nice kind of more doughy, bready take on the classic Belgian Tripel. So yeah, well done to Brouwerij De Graal for this one. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brouwerij De Graal as well, and I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point in the near future. Make sure you check out my social media. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This one is the De Graal Tripel, coming in at 9% ABV from Brouwerij De Graal in Brakel in Flanders in Belgium. Until the next time, Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, Prost, salty. Cheers.